The Wycombe Wanderers Show.
Welcome to the latest edition of the Wycombe Wanderers Show. In the next hour, you'll hear from manager Gareth Ainsworth twice. Once on speaking after the game at Lincoln on Saturday, and again before the end of the show, sort of reflecting on the weather. And also looking ahead to the visit of the league leaders at Ipswich Town, who come to Adams Park on Saturday. Much to look forward to in the last game before Christmas there. We cast our mind back not too far with our Wycombe Wanderers Ex-Players Association slot this week. We catch up with former goalkeeper Scott Shearer, who you may or may not know still lives in the area as well. We'll be hearing from him. We'll be talking more about Wycombe Wanderers Women as well with Deano, which is how she wanted to be pronounced, wants to be referred to. Emma Dean, of course, who you may or may not know, has been with the club a very long time and currently plying her trade, if that's the right expression, in the reserves. Most recently as well, has been between the sticks in goal. A bit of a departure from her normal position. All that and more on the way, as I say, in the next hour or so. But first, let's catch up with Phil, who after the game last week, you might have heard the manager saying that could well work out to be a very decent point in the end, away at Lincoln.
Yeah, I think Gareth said over the course of the season it'd be a decent point. They're unbeaten at home. I think that's 9 draws out of 12 home games they've had. So they're no pushovers at home. I think so. To lose there would have been disappointing, but to not lose there, I think is a decent point. And they look like they've got a good side as well. If Mark Kennedy could just find the back of the net a bit more at home, then they could be challenging along with Wycombe. Hopefully, they could be one of these raft of teams who could be eyeing up the top 6. But yeah, I think a decent point. It was bitterly cold as well, so it was not the easiest conditions to play in. Although credit to the ground staff at Lincoln, they don't have undersoil heating; they got pitch covers. And I think the referee had barely got off the pitch on Saturday, and they were putting them back on after the game. So you could see how hard they work up at Sinshill Bank to make sure that the games go ahead. So full credit to them. And yeah, it went ahead. And Wycombe extended the unbeaten run a little bit further and got a point on the road. There is something quite pleasing, isn't there? I know it's the old adage, but especially away, if you can't win, then obviously don't lose. Well, yeah, I think it backs up the home win against Pompey really well, because that's 4 points from 2 games. If you do that across the season, you average 2 points a game. My maths is bang on it, and that probably gets you in the top 6 at the end of the season at least. So yeah, if Wycombe can keep winning their home games and pick up points from awkward away trips, maybe throw the odd victory on the road in as well, just for good measure, then they should be there or thereabouts. Although this next home game is going to be tricky, but I think it was important that Wycombe stayed unbeaten going into the Ipswich game, to go in with a bit of momentum. And speaking to Gareth afterwards, from a very chilly Sinshill Bank, I think he agreed with me. I wish it had been 4-4 as a draw, because the fans would have had some goals. The fans have travelled all this way on a day where a lot of them have stayed at home to watch the England game. A lot of them will be building up to that now. And fair play, you want to support your country, but those today, they supported their club, and I can't thank them enough. They kept us going. It was a case of cancelling each other out today. It really was. They were a possession-based team who create good chances, and I thought we really sort of shut out today. There was no real clear-cut chances for Lincoln today, and I'm really proud of that. I think we probably had the lion's share, not being horrible. I think that they almost scored an own goal. It was a fantastic save from their keeper, and then we've hit the post when in that melee there. I thought the ball would hit the back of the net. I think we've had a good amount of corners as well, but I've got to give credit to Lincoln City. I think they're a really well drilled outfit. I think they've got a fantastic young manager. I think he's going to go on to big things, Mark. I think he has a real identity about him, and ethos in the way of playing, and it's difficult. I think being 4 points off 4th place is a really good place to be at the moment. After everyone said we've had a tough season and a dodgy season, 4 points off 4th, like I say, is great. I think we'll be in this playoff shake at the end of the season. I firmly believe that, and I also think Lincoln City will be. I think they're a good side, and I think that's a cracking point away from home. And 2 consecutive clean sheets as well, and Max didn't have a lot to do today. No, as I say, we didn't get troubled really. Most of his actions there was with his feet kicking, and I want him to improve on that and get better at that, because I think when teams press us really high, we've got to be accurate with our balls forward. We weren't great today for everyone, not just Max, everyone. I thought that the quality going forward could have been better. But when we had those openings, we've got to make them count. And in recent games we have, the forwards have been brilliant, this season. Scored a lot of goals, but not today.
But do you know what? Away from home like that, on a cold afternoon like this, on a pitch that I'll have to say thank you to the grounds people and Lincoln City for getting this game on, because we were always thinking this was going to be off. But they've done a brilliant job. Not surprised, because I know this club and I know how it's run. There's some great people here, and 0-0. It's not such a bad result for us. We take a point down the road.
Last Sunday you had the element of surprise with your tactical change and personnel change, but unchanged today, so you rewarded that team after that performance.
Yeah, no surprises today, maybe there should have been, but everyone's a hindsight coach, aren't they? And if I change the team and we get beat, then again I've made a mistake there. So no, I'm pleased with the application as always of the boys. January's coming up. I think there's going to be a great deal of transfer activity for us. We'll see what we can do. I'm hoping I'll take 0 now with the likes of Anis Mehmeti, and the like being in such sort of hot form. But no, got to credit Lincoln today, but also I want to credit those, a couple of hundred fans that made the journey up, because if they're looking at this and watching this, thank you so much, because that was a tough afternoon. It was a tough game to watch, but you can say at the end of the season when we make those players, I was at Lincoln City away when we got that vital point.
Great to hear from the manager, as always, and I know when we spoke to him last week as well, it's obviously consistency that he's looking for, and I guess there does feel, especially as you say after the Portsmouth game, there's quite a bit of solidity in the team's display now.
Yeah, and it's really nice, to go into the Ipswich game after our home win. It's been a little while for a home win before that game against Pompey, and hopefully the boys can take that form into the Ipswich game as well, because they've just gone top of the table, although it puts a target on their back now, so maybe psychologically they'll be struggling with being top now after trying to chase down Plymouth. We shall see, but we know that Wycombe Wanderers raise themselves for the big games, and there's none bigger than top of the table. Ipswich coming to town should be a bumper attendance for Christmas as well. There's going to be well over 2,000 Ipswich Sound fans there as well. Hopefully the Wycombe public respond to ticket sales looking really good. So it should be a cracking atmosphere a week before Christmas, and hopefully the present that we all want, Colin, will be 3 points for Wycombe Wanderers. We'll see. Absolutely.
I'm sure many fans really encouraged by what they saw, either on TV or at the ground in that Portsmouth display, and we'll be looking for something similar at Adams Park again. Absolutely. And, with no real new injuries to worry about, it's looking like it could be a settled back line and settled selection. Anis Mehmeti has made the most appearances this season from any Wycombe player, and has been lighting up the league, so hopefully he can continue where he left off. I'm liking the look of Safazoli and Mawson at the heart of the defence together. They're getting a little run. It's a phenomenal stat actually involving Ryan Safazoli, that when he's played at home in the league, I don't think we've conceded a goal since almost I think back in February maybe in the league back at Adams Park. So if he is playing, then hopefully he can continue that run, although I may have jinxed it now. But them two together look really solid at the back. They look like they've got a good partnership there. Jack Grimm has been in good form as well at right back. Joe Jacobson's back in the mix now after completing his 3-match suspension. And we hear that Dominic Gape is back in full training as well. So that's going to add competition into those midfield spots. And obviously the manager saying, the second half of the season is going to be key. And as you say, getting some of these players back at the right time, really. Yeah, just in time for the Christmas rush, because obviously after the Ipswich game, we've got just over a week. Then it's Boxing Day, 29th, and the game around New Year's. Those 3 vital fixtures coming back to back in quick succession. And I know Gareth will disagree with this, but it can make or break a season, that little run, can't it? Because if you get a good return of points, you can really propel yourself up the table and then set yourself up for a really barnstorming second half of the season. And that's what Gareth Ainsworth has been predicting. And wouldn't it be wonderful to go in off the back of a decent run over the festive period? And it feels like such a good position to be just sitting, just outside the playoffs at the moment, having that sort of hunting mentality. Yeah, Gareth has said that, it's been slipping under the radar. I think the thing that's slightly concerning about it, though, is that there seems to be at least 10 other teams who are classing themselves in exactly that same position. It's so tight, isn't it, League One, that middle ground of League One? But the pace at the top has been relentless, although it looks like Plymouth are having a little wobble now. They've had a few injuries and results are starting to run out for them, but they'll be looking to kickstart their season again. I say kick-started, they're in the automatics, but their form has been immense up until recent times. Wouldn't it be great if Wycombe were to beat them down there over Christmas as well? I'm sure they'd really like that as well. It looks like hopefully we can claw one of those teams back, and then I think someone needs to go on a run around January, February time just to really sort of impose themselves into that top 6 and keep themselves there.
because at the moment it's a bit like a horse race, isn't it? There's a whole bank of horses all neck and neck, sort of going to the last fence and thinking, right, who's going to be in the top six? So we'll have to see.
And also, I think it's quite nice to be playing the likes of Ipswich and Plymouth and Portsmouth around this time as well, because it really gives you a good kind of gauge as to where you are, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, Plymouth have spent a lot of money. They've got a really highly thought of young manager. It's his first job, but it's a top job at a club. But he came from Manchester United, where he was the assistant to Jose Mourinho and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. So he's got a really good pedigree. But he was untested really as a manager, but he's doing fantastically well. Let's not forget, his first game was against Wycombe Wanderers at Portman Road, and he's really built on that early win he got against Wycombe, and has seen them go top now. But he's going to be looking now to kick on and get away from that pack that we've mentioned, is to keep going. But I was chatting to an Ipswich fan this week, and it's not like Wycombe when they got promoted, because if Ipswich get promoted this season with the budget they've got, the squad they've got, which is excellent, we'll all look at them and go, well, yeah, you should have got promoted, a bit like Sheffield Wednesday as well. So I wonder if I'm sure their fans will enjoy it if they do get promoted. But it's not like when Wycombe do it, because we really celebrated quite hard when we got promoted.
I hadn't realised until last week's show as well, really quite how prominent the letter P is in League One this season.
Yeah, well, all the best people have names beginning with P.
Oh yeah, and also really nice that people who've watched Wanderers TV will know already, but I'm sure that this weekend a great opportunity for fans to hear some music selected by the manager.
Yeah, well, Big Mac Strick has been, the pre-match playlist picks has been started by a player. Jack Grimmer was the first player. Then each week they get to nominate someone else, another player or member of staff. It's been players up to this point, but Super Max Striek, after his excellent choices, by the way,
they were good, weren't they?
Huge part. They played a huge part in Wycombe's victory against Pompey. I think that's not been stated enough, actually. But he then also said that he was selecting Gareth Ainsworth to do the pre-match playlist picks. If you've not seen him on pre-match drills, the weekly Wycombe Wanderers Show on Wanderers TV, which is an excellent watch. It's a lovely time just to sit down with Gareth and chat about music. No mention of football at all. Just sat down talking about music, and his eyes really light up when he talk about music. He absolutely loves it, and there's some really good sort of 80s hair metal for people to get their heads into as well.
Sounds fantastic. I look forward to that. Thank you so much for your time. Brilliant to chat to you.
One before I leave, Colin, talking about music, we just had the Office Secret Santa, and obviously I don't know who's bought me these. I've been bought two gifts. One, a bald comb to shine up my bald head, which is very appreciative. But I've also got this wonderful Christmas tie, which plays music. So here we go, mate. There you go. So I hope everyone gets a Christmas present as good as this.
I honestly thought it might have gone on for a bit longer than that. It's not the 12-inch version, is it, that we all know and love. Brilliant chat to Phil, as always, though. Phil Catchpole, in case you didn't know, very few people don't know who Phil is, but for Wycombe Wanderers, he's the head of audio and broadcast, happens to be, as well, our match commentator on a Saturday on both Wycombe Sound and Wanderers TV, and as he quite ably mentioned there, on Wanderers TV, does the pre-match drills as well. You can hear the full interview with the manager from the Lincoln game, nearly forgot, on Wanderers TV as well. Some other club news from this week as well to bring you. Chris Farino, of course, the fantastic young defender at Adams Park, has opted to play for St Lucia, the national team. He met with Stern John, who of course is the St Lucia manager, and his assistant to confirm that. And a number of other Wanderers players, youngsters who are out on loan, have extended their deals. Adam Leathers, for example, who was once on the books of Leicester City. He's staying at Hampton and Richmond until the new year. That's after initially joining the club on a 1-month loan deal. He's played a couple of games for the Richmond upon Thames side, and is currently wearing the number 17 shirt. So we wish him all the best during his loan spell there as well. Plus, another young chairboy, this time defender, Ben Kaneda, is joining Hanwell Town on a 28-day loan deal. So obviously wish him all the best as well. There are a number of other development players as well who are currently out on loan as well. Excuse me. Including, of course, Luca Woodhouse and Arnold Mashazi as well, who are at Slough Town and Connor Parsons is at Solihull Moors as well. There are a number of others who are out on loan at the moment. Of course, we'll be following their progress as long as I don't choke here at Wycombe Sound. Still to come on this week's edition of the Wycombe Wanderers Show, we'll bring you news from Wycombe Wanderers Women and catch up with Deano, who's been at the club a long time and currently working with the reserves and indeed playing for them, sometimes in goal. That and more on the way, including more from Wycombe manager Gareth Ainsworth, who was just starting his playing career at the club when our next guest was arriving in 2007. He stayed for 3 years, and they were quite an eventful 3 years as well. Played in goal, I'm sure you remember Scott Shearer, still lives locally as well in Marlow, and been catching up with him to find out his earliest memories of when he first arrived at Adams Park.
Paul Lambert was the manager at the time, and he was trying to build some success at the club. And you could feel that when you went in. The club had a good, solid foundation there. The training ground was a really attractive piece for me as a player to come down, and it was League Two at the time. And to have such a really good training ground with facilities that help you improve off the pitch as well as on, that was a real pull for me. And then obviously the stadium, I've always loved the stadium, always loved it. I get the access, etc. as an issue, but everything about the club was absolutely solid. The finances were all solid with Steve in charge. And then it was just a club who wanted to progress and, go further up the leagues. So the year that I came in 2007, there's a real statement by Paul. He brought, I think it was 7 players in that summer. So the first impressions were really positive for me.
And as you say, the calibre of players that were around at that time as well, it must have felt like quite a special sort of era was starting in a way.
Well, yeah, you could just see what he was trying to do. And then obviously, unfortunately for me, I had quite a horrific injury a couple of months in, which kept me out for that season. But from then on, you had players like Neil Lennon coming in, Rob Douglas came in. It was obviously the manager's ex-teammates who were coming down to sort of play for him. But we're still attracting that calibre of player to come down to League Two from, playing at such a high level. So, yeah, it was a really good time.
You mentioned the injury. It must have been so frustrating, but also just the sort of innocuousness of it as well, just at the training ground like that.
Yeah, it was horrible. It was my first proper injury, and yeah, it wasn't nice. I don't think I helped myself by trying to kick my ankle back into place, and then I had Big Terry pin me to stop me from losing the plot. I think I went into a bit of shock. So yeah, it was horrible. And then also, it was taking me a little while to get settled into being at a new club and stuff. I was putting a bit too much pressure on myself, I think, to start with. And then I'd actually come out the team, and the gaffer had put Jamie Young back in. And then obviously, it was the week after. I think Youngie, I came on off the bench against Shrewsbury. Youngie had tore his hamstring during that game, and the following week I, had a fracture dislocation in my ankle, and it was and then they had to bring, obviously, I think Frank Fielding was one of the young goalkeepers they brought in, and another lad from Bolton, I believe. So yeah, it wasn't a great start, but it progressed and it got better.
I was going to say, brilliant the way you bounced back, and you had such a consistency the following season as well.
Well, it was really strange because the whole year I was nowhere near fully fit, but it was just, I was so desperate to do well, so desperate to stay in the team. And the team, we had such a great start to that season. The first half of the season, I think we were unbeaten in 23 games, was it? 21 games, something like that. But by Christmas time, I always remember, just walking the dog and struggling to just go on a walk with the dog. That my ankle was really bad, and I ended up, I think it was in February, I went in and said to the manager that I really feel that I'm struggling. I don't think I should be playing, because I started to make some errors. So we got it checked, and the specialist at the time says, it's not been set properly, which is why I was getting incredible pain. So that was, I think, in March, I get put back in and I had to get my ankle redone.
But you came such a long way as well, and to be named in the PFA League 2 Team of the Year for that season, for 2008-2009, so must be such a great reward for what you'd kind of been through.
Do you know what it is? When you look back at it now, it's incredible. At the time, I don't think I really appreciated it. I was just so focused on trying to get promotion. I was so desperate to get that promotion and get some success. But looking back on it, it shows you how well the team done, because I think 3 of us were named in that team. So I think as a team, we really deserved the promotion. But looking back, it's some of the things now, when you retire, you can reflect on some of the moments in your career. During your career, it's so fast paced, you just have so little time to appreciate a lot of it.
And getting the side out of League Two must have felt a great achievement as well under Peter as well. A brilliant sort of milestone for the club, if you like. Yeah,
it was. Do you know what? I think it's probably my best promotion. It was my first real promotion, and it was just. I mean, we couldn't have made it any more hard work, could we? Let's be honest. Taking it down to the sort of. I remember in the media room in the stadium listening to the Bury game. We'd get a guy from Sky Sports telling us that Bury have just hit the bar and the 3rd minute of injury time, and you're just thinking, oh my God, it was so stressful. But when we get told that we've done it and we were up, let's just say that party lasted a long time.
And as well, I think if you speak to strikers, they have favourite goals. But as a goalkeeper, do you have particular sort of memorable games where you kept a clean sheet, or particular saves that really stand out?
I mean, there's lots of times, but you make loads of saves, obviously, and you have good games, you have not so good games. But I mean, I think it's just one of the games that really does probably stick out for me was Norwich at home, and I got man of the match that game. And it was one of the games you come off and you just know you've done everything you could, and you've earned the man of the match. Sometimes you get man of the match and it feels like your parents are giving it out because you probably didn't really deserve it. It's just somebody's view of it. But yeah, that was one of the games that I felt I really deserved the man of the match.
So overall, how do you look back at your time at the club?
Absolutely loved it. And it was, I love the way the club's gone now with Gareth and Dobbo in charge. It's such a good club. As someone who's retired now, you're able to look at how football as an industry really is. And, the way Gareth and Dobbo do it, I really love it. When I was at Oxford at the end of my career, I used to pop in and have a coffee, and, Blooms was still a player there, and you just saw it, and it was just such a great atmosphere. And I think that's what the club's now given. It's not just successful and probably overachieving at the level Gareth has been doing it, but the players that are there absolutely love it. And trust me, there are not many clubs that you can say that about. Obviously, from my time at the club, it's only progressed, which is such a nice thing to see.
No, definitely. And so many clubs, the manager doesn't get the time to kind of build the culture that Gareth has. And obviously, when you come towards the end of your time there, that was just when Gareth was starting, really.
Yeah, Gareth came in, he was playing. And I mean, he was, as good as a manager he was, as a player. Obviously, I was in my late 20s, and Gareth just made you step up personally, your own standards as a player. So I imagine, that's what he's taken into management. And the players he brings in, they do a lot of due diligence on who they're bringing in is going to be a right fit for the club, because he doesn't want people in, no prima donnas. He wants people who are going to come in and do what the team needs. And you sort of see that by the players he brings in. They're all incredibly unselfish.
And you imagine as well, in the dressing room, he was a pretty similar character to how he is now as a manager, just getting everyone really G'd up.
He was nuts. He was absolutely nuts. But I mean, in such a good way, like you say, he was so positive. And I always remember every time he would come in the morning, he would do a big scream. And it would just make everyone smile, make everyone sort of posture up a bit and know, right, you're in here to work. And then I used to always remember, he wouldn't train every day because he was in his 40s at the time. But in the gym, oh my God, he was an absolute animal. And he was just, like I said, he just brought the standard up massively.
And I know as well, many goalkeepers there, not too keen to take too much credit. And I'm sure you want to pay a lot of tribute to kind of defenders and other players that you had in front of you as well for your success during your time there too.
No, not at all. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, we had, especially that promotion season. We had such a good team, really good team. I think we managed to keep over 20 clean sheets that season, which is, I think, Stocko surpassed that a couple of seasons ago, last season, when done really well. But I mean, it's such a hard feat to do, and it's a credit to the whole team then. But at the time, I had big Mike Williamson in front of me, David McCracken, these guys, Leon Johnson, these guys were amazing to have in front of you, because they were just honest men who would go out there and try their hardest, and they were, to help matters, they were really good defenders.
And is it really nice to sort of reflect on, obviously not just Wycombe, but the other clubs that you played for and your career as well, and what you achieved, and people, if they'll look at your record, and not many goalkeepers will have goals scored 1 in it either.
Yeah, no, it's a running joke with me and my mates, but yeah, no, I mean that was a long time ago, but a lot of people said that it wasn't my goal. One of my teammates at the time said it wasn't my goal. The only reason I said it was my goal was to try and get a move down south. So if that's the case, it seemed to work.
And you did some coaching as well. That must have been quite nice just to be able to pass on, your experience as well to other young goalkeepers too.
It was, but I noticed that, football's changing, and I always got told, when I first moved down, by my first goalkeeping coach, a man named Aaron Hodgkinson. And he always said to me, football moves on, and the day that, it moves on and you've not moved on with it is the day you need to get out of it. And I realised that, I'm quite old school in my values, and I realised that it's not really that way anymore. So I realised that it wasn't really suited for anyone like me anymore. So I had that feeling, that gut feeling that it wasn't for me to stay in football now. It was time to move on and let someone else, come in and do a better job than what I could do.
So you're into financial advising currently. Is that something that you always had an interest in, or is that something you kind of discovered and thought, oh yeah, I can help especially players?
It's a bit of both. Obviously, when you have a footballing career, you get told often enough that it's a short career. You've got to make the most of it, especially financially, because, like you say, you don't know when it's going to end. You don't know what your next contract's going to be, so you've got to sort of be clever with your money. But it was actually because when I first moved down, I actually got some really poor financial advice, and this was before it was heavily regulated, and it sort of didn't help me in a way. I lost a good bit of money out of it, and it always sort of was a sour taste in my mouth. And then it was something that I'd obviously looked at throughout my whole career, and looking after my own money. And within that, I sort of probably didn't do the best I could do by not taking sound financial advice. And then towards the end of my footballing career, I was noticing that, there were still players making the same mistakes that I was making, as a young 22, 23-year-old. So I thought that was it. I could be the bridge from, having the career that these young lads want to have, the longevity of it, and being able to give them sound financial planning throughout that, knowing what they're going to go through along what stages along the way. And that's the way it sort of worked out now. I'm starting to bring players on as clients and really sit down and go through. And the beautiful thing about it for me is that I can be myself. I don't need to worry about what I'm saying to them. They know what I'm saying to them is because I really want them to achieve something. And by the time they end their football career, I want them to have something to fall back on.
That must be so relatable as well, because obviously you've had your career as a footballer as well, rather than someone who's just done been a financial advisor.
Yeah, and that's it, and I think that's what allows me with the lads that I look after to just be so honest with them and upfront and quite blunt. And it's like I'll say to them, if they want to take my advice, perfect. If they don't, I'm pretty sure that they'll come back later on and say, I wish I'd taken it. So the majority of them, if not all of them, have listened so far, and they're in a really good place, which is amazing. But again, it's not a transactional thing. For me, it's more holistic. I want to, work with these lads, until their retirement, and help them through the different stages of life, because, things change quick in life, as we know. So it's very rewarding for me.
I understand you can often be found on the golf course as well.
Yeah, usually in the rough. Usually in the right-hand side of the fairway. But no, yeah, I'm a member down at Harleyford golf course. So yeah, I play down there quite often.
And obviously the ex-players have a golf day as well, which I understand you've been a good participant in, along with Steve Hayes as well, as you mentioned. And really nice that the ex-players, provide that opportunity for, teammates from so many different eras to kind of come together and have sort of shared experiences too.
Yeah, no, it was really good. My first year, Steve invited me to come down and play a part of his sort of four ball. We went down and it was a great day. There was a lot of people there that have done a lot of good for the club. Just nice to see some old faces as well as, the new faces that are taking the club forward.
And as you touched on at the beginning, it must be so nice for you as well to still be living locally and trying to really reflect on how far the club's come, even just since your time there as well.
Massively. I mean, even like I said, there was a big pull for me to go to the club with the facilities that it had. But I mean, the club's progressed that even forward, even more moving forward, and it's amazing. The training ground is really nice. The stadium, the pitch surface is incredible. And then it's just a case of now, I'm trying to get down there to support the club as much as I can and, be a fan now.
I mean, especially when the team got to be in the Championship, because I remember when Steve came and took over, he had this sort of 5-year plan to get the team into the Championship, and a lot of fans thought, struggling in League Two, we're not going to reach the Championship. But it's been so incredible, this kind of journey as well, as you say, under Gareth and the culture that he's built there too.
Yeah, definitely. I think, like I said, I think a lot of the foundations are put then to where Steve obviously wanted to try and help the club get to. It didn't happen for whatever reason, and then Gareth and that done really well to steady the ship, and it's now in good ownership again, and the club's progressing. It's just to think that Gareth has got Wycombe Wanderers into the Championship is just ridiculous, if I'm honest. It just shows you don't need enormous budgets. If you can lead and manage players and give them clear instructions, these players are good enough to sort of get to that level.
Really enjoyable chatting to Scott Shearer, and thanks as always to the Wycombe Wanderers Ex-Players Association. Fantastic to speak to the former stars of the Wanderers each week. I thought it'd be nice to continue the Scottish section of the show. We had Jack Grimmer on live last week, and the defender had another good game after Phil praised him last week as well, this time against Lincoln, so I thought it'd be nice to hear from him. What do you mean it would have worked better if we'd have done it earlier in the show after we'd heard from Gareth post-match at Sinsel Bank? I know. But here he is chatting to Phil about another clean sheet.
Jack and Neil Nelson, we have to talk to defender after that, but a clean sheet from your point of view, a good day?
Yeah, I think so. I think it was, it's always nice to keep a clean sheet. Obviously, I would have rather we won. I think the clean sheet is nice, but if you were to offer me a 2-1 win, obviously I'd rather that. But I think these are the games that previously we might have lost. The games that we didn't really create much, but we managed to limit their chances as well. And I think a point on the road is probably never a bad result.
In a very tight game like that, keeping the clean sheet's important, because Wycombe nearly got away with the goal at the start of that second half, hitting the post. Yeah,
I think so. And the keeper as well in the first half, I think their defender kicked how it's not gone in. I just think when that happened, I thought, okay, let's not concede, because we're going to have to really work hard to get a goal. And like I said, you have games like that maybe sometimes, last Sunday against Pompey, the quality is there and things are flowing. You come away today, the quality is not there, and people just aren't on the same page, and that's football. No two games are the same, but I think it's important, if you aren't going to score, then come away with a point, and then you've got a massive game next week to look forward to.
Lincoln unbeaten in the league at home. I think that's their 9th draw in the league here at Sinsel Bank. You can kind of see why after today? Yeah,
I didn't know that until after the game, but you can see why. I mean, I think we played them last season and their league position wasn't probably what they wanted it to be, but they are a good side. I think they've shown that this today already, like you said, with their home record. They're a very good side. And I think for me it makes the point and the clean sheet even more sweet, the fact that they've got such a good home record. So like I said, thank you to all the fans, by the way, that came, because it was freezing today and with the World Cup on and everything, it's nice that anyone showed up. So it was good on them to make the journey, and at least we gave them a point to go on with.
From the press box, the pitch looked magnificent as well. And how was it out there? Because I would suggest credit to the ground staff.
I don't know what they were. I don't know what the pitch inspection was about, because the pitch was fair play to them. They did really well. I spoke to the referee before the game, and he sort of complimented how well they'd done. And when we were sort of walking around before the game, we were all thinking, what's the pitch inspection been for? Because look at them now, they're on the pitch putting the covers back on it, and fair play to them, because the pitch was immaculate.
You've mentioned the World Cup. Looking forward to the England game?
Yeah, I think we're all going to watch it as a team. So I think the camps, I wouldn't say split, obviously it's heavily towards England, but But yeah, I think being a Scotsman, I'm not overly fussed about, but I'm not one of those Scotsmen that probably want England to lose every game. I'll say that, because I have lived here for 10 years now actually. But as long as none of my family and friends hear this, but yeah, no, I am looking forward to it. I think it's been an unbelievable World Cup. I mean, Morocco just beat Portugal, which is, another upset. And England, if they can beat France, then they definitely fancy their chances.
I remember speaking to you in pre-season down at Southampton in the middle of the heat wave. You were complaining about the weather, but this is more you, isn't it? This
is more me. I think, although to be fair, I am a lot softer than previously. I've been down here too long, I think, so I'm really accustomed to the warmer weather. So it's funny because when we train and it's cold at training, I'm one of the ones with all the hats and the gloves on. People are questioning if I'm even Scottish, but yeah, I think it's. I would much rather be playing on a night like tonight than, like you said, in pre-season at Southampton in 30-degree heat. That's just not for a Scotsman, I don't think.
I was disappointed you wore a coat for this interview, to be honest.
Yeah, I should have come out in a t-shirt. It would have been much better. But yeah, I think, like I said, we didn't quite get the points to warm us up today, but with the weather and everything, get a point, get on the road and get the jacket on and get back down to Adams Park.
And finally, a bit of momentum going into Ipswich as well.
Yeah, I think we've definitely, recently results have kind of went our way. It just shows you if you put a little bit of a run together, it doesn't need much, which is probably the most frustrating thing. If we can just find that bit of consistency, which we're starting to kind of put a run together going into a very tough run of games. Ipswich, I think they won again today, and you know how well they're doing this season. Then you've got the Boxing Day game and then the two tough away fixtures. So we are going into a sticky sort of winter period. By no means is it season defining, because it just shows the league is, I think we're 4 points off fourth. So the league is what it is, and I think if we can just find some consistency, then come February, March time, we'll be okay.
Really good to hear from Jack, of course, chatting to Phil after the game at Central Bank. Yes, Wycombe Wanderers currently 9th in League 2, played a game or two more than some of the teams in and around the table, but a win on Saturday against the league leaders will take them into the top 6 potentially if other results go their way. And then, as mentioned, there's quite a tricky sort of fixture list coming up, starting, of course, well, the trickiness really starts, doesn't it, with the league leaders coming, but then another game on Boxing Day, again at Adams Park, with the visit of Bristol Rovers, and then a trip to Plymouth, who of course are well up there as well. And then the new year starts with another Peterborough away, and then hosting Sheffield Wednesday as well. And then Bristol Rovers again. These games coming thick and fast in January. Oxford as well, big local derby coming to Adams Park, and finishing the first month of 2023 with the visit of Fleetwood Town. Much to look forward to in terms of the fixtures. Still to come on the final part of the Wycombe Wanderers Show for this week, we catch up with manager Gareth Ainsworth to discuss, among a number of things, how the freezing temperatures have affected their preparations for the visit of Ipswich Town, who come to Adams Park, as mentioned, on Saturday. A bumper crowd expected. If you're not going to the game, of course, you got full match commentary here on Wycombe Sound on 106.6 FM and also on Wanderers TV as well. And you get the chance to watch the game on Wanderers TV in the UK as well, owing to the fact that it's an international break, of course, for the World Cup, which comes to its conclusions this weekend. Got the third and fourth place playoff, which can you remember England were part of not that long ago, and then the final, of course, between Argentina and France. But first, following the Chairgirls, this week we catch up with Deano, who currently is plying her trade in the reserves, not just as a player, not just as a coach, but in a bit of a different position to what she's been used to, as you'll hear in a few moments' time, after she told us how she got started at the club.
I originally started when I was 13 back in the day, but it was only a women's team, so I pretty much was just the sub every week. Then I stopped at 16, rejoined at 19, but I did join to Marlow Ladies, and then we folded and came over to Wycombe. It must be my 6th season now since we came back to Wycombe as a group of us. Obviously started in the first team alongside Andy McIntosh, then went to Dave, and then last season got stepped down to the reserves, which is fantastic. I mean, I'm one of these older, wiser players that help guide the younger ones, because I'm now the oldest in the female section of Wycombe Wanderers. So I like to be like a leader as such, /guider, like the auntie to the team. and help the young ones progress through from the under-18s all the way through to the first team if they can and want to. But yeah, it's great fun.
So I'm sure you didn't get much chance to sort of reflect, but you must have seen so many changes in your time there.
Yes. So obviously the different management, different coaches' skills as we've gone on, and players coming in and out. Some only coming in for a couple of training sessions and disappearing. Some being there for years, and then obviously we've had the hard hit of the injuries with the ACLs. The 4 players that took out their knees, bless them, just by either running towards a ball or jumping and landing awkwardly. Obviously, a couple of them have now retired from playing football altogether. Others have managed to get the operation, get the rehab in, and started to phase back into training and playing, which is great to see them do that now.
Especially in your senior role, that must be great to sort of see the development of so many different players from really young up to, as you say, more experienced.
Yes, yeah. So obviously I'm with the reserves. Jamie is a lone manager, so I help with running the warm-ups. My partner helps him with the admin side of things, so the club communicating with the other teams and getting everybody set and ready for the game on Sunday. He picks the team and does what he needs to do, and just has Ellen as his little backup. I have currently had to step into goal as a goalkeeper due to injuries, people leaving us, and Emily Strange obviously being stepped up to the first team, which is quality for her, young 16-year-old, and she's doing well up there. So yeah, learning a new role for myself at my age, and getting the keeper coaching, which is great. But we are looking forward to hopefully getting a new goalkeeper at some point so I can step back out on the field and be stuck right back in it again.
What's that been like, sort of playing in such a different position?
Scary. Sometimes it's great to just take it all in and see what's going on in front of you. But I don't know if you've ever been to one of our games, Colin, where I pretty much talk the whole game and literally just tell people to shuffle left, right, squeeze them up, shut them down. Lose my head occasionally when a simple goal goes in, if it is an easy mistake that we could have rectified quickly. But we're currently top of the league, which is brilliant for us. Obviously, our youngest players are 16, all the way through to me at 36. So we've got a nice mix of age groups, experiences, and we just fight for one another, which is brilliant. No one ever gives up. A couple of weeks ago, we came back from 2-0 down at half-time to win against S4K 3-2. It's like you couldn't have asked for anything more in that match at that time from all the players out in front of me. But yeah, it's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
And obviously the coaching role sounds like something that you've adapted to really well and taken to, obviously, with your talking, as you mentioned, but also obviously passing on your experience as well.
Yes. So just learning from everyone that's ever managed me or coached me throughout the years, picking up some of their drills that they do and the way they speak to the players, obviously helps guide and communicate. I'm classed as like the check-in person, so if someone takes a knock one day, I'll drop them a message the next day just to see how they're doing. We obviously have our 2 physios that come to training, but they're mainly with the first team on match days. I took on a role of sports injuries and taping techniques, learned all of that so that I can assist on match days for the reserves especially, and I sometimes go to the under-18s games if I can get to them and assist there as well. And it's just making sure the girls know what they need to do to recover from that knock so that they can play again either the week after or a couple of weeks down the line, depending on how bad the injury was.
Essentially, you're the Swiss Army knife of Wycombe Wanderers Women.
Yeah, apparently so. I'm just Deano, and I just do and I care about everybody and everyone. I just want everyone to have that smile on their face, get the successes that we desire and deserve, and everyone to put the commitment in. I'm not sure if you've been told by any of them. Each week on a Sunday, I drop a message into our senior chat, and there's 4 words I say before every game, and that is teamwork, passion, commitment, and determination to succeed. And if you follow those four words and get all stuck in and put 110% in that match, you never know what's going to come out of the end of it. And hopefully 9 times out of 10 it'll be that win, or at least a good battle to get a draw, or just show your worth as part of Wycombe Wanderers Women to anyone and everyone that wants to come and watch and support us.
Oh, that's fantastic. The club are very lucky to have you.
Thank you.
It's really nice as well, because speaking to Jamie last week about the kind of reserve setup, in that you've got, obviously players coming up from the under-18s and perhaps, coming down from the senior side as well, but also going in the other directions as well.
Yes, yeah. So we are like the flowing team. So we have a core of players, and we just wait for Jamie to release his squad for each Sunday, so that we know who's either coming up or coming down to play alongside us. But it's brilliant. We're very welcoming to any new person that wants to come in, or any person that's already in the club that is stepping into the reserves game that Sunday. And we have a little chat with them. We just tell them that this is what we like to achieve from the performance overall. Just communicate, get out there, get stuck in, put your all in, and no one can ask for anything more from you. And 9 times out of 10, it goes great. I mean, we've lost 2 games this season so far. One was a friendly, and one was against Ruislip. There was a very strong team, and the pitch wasn't the nicest, to be fair. But we can learn from those mistakes or issues that we created ourselves in those 2 games to push on to stay top of the league and have a great competition, as well as in the League Cup that we're still through on. So, yeah.
It's a great record to have, and obviously really inspiring, I guess, for those in the under-18s team as well, to think, I want to be part of that. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, they love it. They either come and watch us, both us, the reserves and the first team, or they get to get some minutes on the pitch with us. Some obviously do jump from the under-18s straight through to the first, but that's because of obviously their performance levels, their experience, their skills. They just fit straight into that team. They don't need to have a little couple of goes in the reserve seniors to see what ladies football is like. But yeah, you just have to take what the more experienced / older players in the club give the information about other teams and players, because some of the older generation will trick you into different challenges and tackles. If you just stand and wait for instance, if you stand and wait for a pass, an older experienced player will be like, nope, Nick Brown's you, and off they've gone, and then you're on the back foot. So it's just trying to give them a bit of pointers of don't stand and wait. You must get stuck in straight away. And have you noticed sort of the quality of football, both in your own sort of team and club, and from the opposition as well, has improved over time as well?
Yes, definitely. You never know what you're going to get these days. Obviously, I've been playing competitively again since I was 19. So back then it was a mixed match. You never know how it was going to go. The slide challenges that older generation used to like to make back in the day on the mud pitches. Obviously, we've now gone to 3G pitches. You're not really wanting to slide on them as much, but if you've got to do it, you do it. But yeah, it's just the passing and moving, and watching women's football on TV now. Obviously, the Euros helped get more people involved and wanting to give it a try at least, so they come along and see what they like and go from there.
And you've got a reserve game this Sunday. There's no first team fixture, I understand, so a great opportunity for people to come and give extra support.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. So we're at Burnham, the 1878 Stadium. It's a 2:00 kickoff, so it will start getting dark there, but we're hoping the snow clears so that we're able to play over there. We're against East Oxford. We beat them away 1-0 at their ground earlier on in the season, so we're hoping to show what we've improved on since playing that game, and keep top of the league and hopefully get 30 points before Christmas.
Great to chat to Deano, of course, from Wycombe Wanderers Women Reserves. As she mentioned, they're in action on Sunday at Burnham, and you can get along there and support them for a 2:00 kickoff. Of course, 3:00 the day before at Adams Park, Wycombe Wanderers take on Ipswich. You might have noticed it's been quite cold. Here's Wycombe manager Gareth Ainsworth telling us what impact the weather's had on their preparations for that one.
Yeah, obviously it's difficult, and we've had to change the venues of training, but we're getting a training session in every day, which is important. I'm sure that a lot of teams are struggling at this time of year, and they'll be inside training and outside training. I think it's important to have got your principles of play involved into the team, in the summer months and the months when you were allowed to train, because this comes into the season every year. You always get these periods, and sometimes you can't work on what you want to work on, so you rely on things you've done and your identity working up to the games, so everyone should know how you play and know, what it takes to be in a Wycombe team. Just because we can't work on specifics, it is a little bit of a hindrance, but we're lucky enough that we've been able to change venues and get a couple of good sessions in. So we're quite content with how we've prepared for Ipswich on Saturday. And I'm sure they've got fantastic facilities over there. They're a huge club, so it'd be a miss of me to think that they'll be struggling to train. Some of the northern teams, the smaller clubs, I'm not sure how they'll be able to get sessions on, and I think this is a big telling part of the season. So yeah, we're lucky. It's cold, but you expect that in England at this time of year, and we're ready for this game on Saturday, and then a real tough Christmas period coming up after that.
And do you feel that you're going into this game, despite the weather, sort of very well prepared, and that the team is doing well at the moment? I know you said after the Lincoln game that it might well look back on that as a good point at the end of the season.
I'm looking back now as a good point. Definitely, it's anything on the road is good. Yeah, we're prepared. We're prepared as good as we can be. One thing is we're adaptable here, so we'll work and we'll make the most of any situation as we've done, as we've learned over the years of having nothing. Now we've got stuff. We still don't just. We're not just becoming these prima donnas who expect everything. We'll still work hard to, if we have to clear some snow or we have to, work hard to find a venue and make things work, we'll do it. And I think that's for the beauty of Wycombe Wanderers. And so, yeah, prepared as we can be for Ipswich on Saturday.
And having the league leaders come into town must be something that both yourself and the players are really relishing.
Yeah, of course. You've got to play league leads at some stage. And I think Ipswich have shown that they're, a huge club in this division. Them and Sheffield Wednesday seem to be pulling away a little bit, and rightly so. You look at those two clubs and the history in them, and the money they've spent is it's no surprise to see them at the top of the league. So, but they are beatable, and we know that, and we seem to be hitting form at a decent time, and let's see what kind of game we get on Saturday.
Because I think a lot of supporters certainly getting quite excited by it, and I guess as well, maybe fans who might have gone to Premier League games, obviously they're not at the moment. A great opportunity to come and see some great football just before Christmas.
No, it's true. Yeah, I mean, there's been a starvation of Premier League, hasn't there, over the last 2 or 3 weeks, and the World Cup become more sporadic now that the less teams are in it. So yeah, it's an ideal opportunity again to showcase League One and show the quality in League One. I think that over the years, especially the last 5 years, the quality has improved, tenfold in League One. Some of the teams that are in there now, gone are the days where it was sort of two halves of 92 teams. You seem to have the Premier League and the Championship that were all these top teams, and then 1 and 2 were all these other teams. Now, League One is definitely a real mixture of, 7 ex-Premier League teams or 8 ex-Premier League teams. It's crazy. So we've really got to showcase what we can do, and I'm sure that Ipswich coming to town is a brilliant opportunity for people to get down Sellers Park and see a good game.
Would you say that's the main factor as to why things are kind of so tight? Because it seems like even from the bottom to the top, there's not much in the difference in the teams. That seems to be even more so than previous seasons. Yeah,
the quality is getting better in football, Colin. And you can only pick 11 players, and there's a lot of good players around. So I think gone are the days where the disparity in the top and bottom are huge. I think that, you look at the teams that have come to us and your Cheltenhams we've gone to, your Forest Greens, your Morecambes, they've all been hugely competitive games. And so same as the Peterboroughs and the Plymouths and the Ipswiches, hopefully, So we've got to respect everyone in this game. It's, the money in the game gets you a big squad, but anyone can put a decent 11 out. And I think that's been shown this season. We're really close, and we know that a couple of wins on the board propels you out of the league, but a couple of defeats can sink you down the league as well. So we've got to be consistent, and that's what we'll be hoping for on Saturday.
And I must ask about your musical choices for Saturday. That must be something you've had a bit of fun sort of compiling.
Yeah, just something different away from football, which was great, So probably a couple of expected tunes, but then chucking Jerry Lee Lewis in there as well. A respect of a recent passing of him, and obviously one of the pioneers of rock and roll and wild man of rock. So nice to speak to Phil midweek and get them on the playlist. Although people will probably know I've had an influence on the playlist from day one here, so it's no surprise. But it was great to talk about the music and what it means to me.